And so I'm going to go ahead and start. For those of you who do not know me, I would like to introduce myself. I am Marquetta Masters, and I am the proud author of my new book. And so, thank you so much for joining my new book reveal. My new book is entitled Education Uninterrupted. And it is strategies and methods to help parents navigate distance learning. I am so excited about this product that I was able to complete. I think it is right on time for the moment that we are in. And I think it will be something that will be very beneficial and useful to parents. And so, make sure that you go out and pick up a copy of Education Uninterrupted. And you can purchase that on Amazon.com. And it comes with in digital and a paperback. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to first start out before I begin talking about the book. I think I should start out with telling people who helped me get to the part of being able to do the book, thank you. And so I think it's first I'm going to start by saying thank you to my husband, Kevin Masters, Mr. Masters. Thank you, Mr. Masters, for being an incredible husband. And thank you for your support and love during this process. I could not have completed this project without your love and without your support. I also want to say thank you to Darnetta Fair, who wrote the foreword. And thank you for the words, and thank you for writing that. Thank you to Hassani Ben for writing a review of the book. Your words were incredible, and I am so glad that you enjoyed it. Uh, I also want to say thank you to Norman Drew. Norman is an illustrator, and he is the person who completed the front cover of the book and the back cover of the book, and he is incredibly talented. And so if you are in the business of writing a book or you need an illustrator, Norman Drew would definitely be the person. Please reach out to me, and I can definitely connect you with Norman. I also want to say thank you to Tia Ross. She edited the manuscript, and so she assisted with the manuscript editing. And so I want to say thank you to Miss Ross. I appreciate your support and all the hard work that you did to complete the manuscript. I also want to say thank you to Ardell Fleming. She also helped, assisted with editing the manuscript. Your friendship and your support is incredible. And so thank you so much for assisting with this project. And then finally, I want to say thank you to my coach, Jan. Um, I want to say anytime that you are doing something that will probably be beneficial for the masses or a big project, I think you should have a coach or a mentor. And Jan is my mentor. She can be reached at J. Christie Global Connections. She is an asset, and she was definitely instrumental in helping me and coaching me through this process. And so, Jan, I know you're out there. Thank you so much for your help and for your support and for helping me get this project together. Okay, so I think I'm done. Thank you, God. That is first. But I just want to say that it's I think it's a big project, and but I think it's something that will, like I said, be very valuable to parents. So let me just talk a little bit about me and my experience and why I think it was time for me to do a project like this. So, of course, I've been in education over 20 years in various positions. I was a teacher for a while, years. I was a instructional coach where I coached teachers and did professional development in the school district. I was an assistant principal, and also I am currently now a principal. And so I have worked in so many areas of education. And in working in all of those areas of education, I've had the benefit and I've gained the experience and understanding of the way school systems work and the way education works. And I think it is important for me. I thought it was important for me to merge that with parenting because I have also been a parent for 19 years. And so 19 years of parenting and over 20 years of education, combining the two worlds to create something that could be beneficial to parents during a pandemic, that was my goal. And so the goal, again, with the book was to provide parents with some solid strategies, just from my experience with education and from my experiences as a parent. Solid strategies on how they can navigate distance learning. And so I'll start with the introduction. And so when I started the book, I was taking my son to college. So I've been writing a couple of months. I was taking my son to college in August, and I did not anticipate all of the emotions that would come with dropping your son off in college. And so there were so many emotions and things that I wanted to get out. But I thought it would be a good segue for an introduction to a book because I thought it was a great piece of symbolism of how quickly things can change in life. And I think, like, thinking about, my son, and he's already going to college and I have to drop him off. And then thinking about how suddenly the pandemic hit and education changed. And so I thought that was a great segue to start the book out. And so when you read the introduction, you will experience my motherly emotions of dropping my son off to college for the first time. And it will also take you into why it is so important for us to make, as parents, to make the best decision about distance learning and its importance. Um, I think pretty much one of the big things in chapter one. Chapter one of the book starts with making the case. And the biggest thing that I wanted to talk to parents about in chapter one dealt with academic learning loss. Because being in education for over 20 years, I truly understand what happens if a child develops a learning deficit. It's costly. It's costly for the school system. It's costly for the parent. It's costly for the parent. It's costly for the student. And so I wanted to give parents a solid understanding of what academic learning loss, uh, what it is, and how you want to prevent that from happening during distance learning. Researchers already predict that students are going to experience learning loss and they will experience it unintentional because distance learning sometimes is a new system for most school systems. And when you are implementing or rolling out a new system, sometimes there are things that you don't have everything figured out, and in not having everything figured out, there is a possibility that students can have learning loss. And so this chapter is to say this is what learning loss is. And these are some strategies and things that you should do during distance learning to minimize learning loss for your child. And so when you read chapter one provides you with just strategies and things that you can do to minimize learning loss for your child. When I wrote chapter two, when you think about chapter two and well, before I go to chapter two, let me tell you about the way the book flows. So when you read a chapter, every chapter, there is always included in each chapter a story of equity. So at the end of each chapter, there's a story of equity and there's a rally to success. And so the story of equity, the reason that I put that in every chapter is because when parents are experiencing distance learning, children will experience it in varied ways. And so it's important for everyone to be aware that every child should receive an equitable experience. But in order for children to have an equitable experience, it's something that has to be very intentional. And so I I intentionally put in a story of equity in each chapter to focus parents on the idea of making sure that regardless of the experience that their child is having, they can always petition for an equitable experience for all students. And then the final thing in each chapter is always a rally to success. And the reason that I incorporated a rally to success is because I'm an educator at heart. And I just believe that anytime that you are teaching something, and I believe this book to be a teaching book for parents, you have to summarize it. And so the rally to success summarizes the learning for the chapter. It could include the learning in several chapters, but it just makes sure it puts a laser focus on what parents should pull from the chapter that they're reading. And so the book is laid out, it tells personal experiences from me. There's always a story of equity, and then there's always a rally to success in each chapter. And so now we can go to chapter two. So in chapter two, this chapter starts with monitoring. So the chapter is entitled Start Monitoring Your Child. And in chapter two, it pretty much just talks about ways that you can monitor your child during the distance learning process to ensure that they do not have academic learning loss. And it gives you a series of ways to look at what the teacher is doing, to look at what the child is doing, to look at what you're doing in your home, to look at the school system. It is a series of ways that you can monitor your child to make sure that they do not experience learning loss. Because the overarching theme that will run throughout the book will be minimizing learning loss. Like if you are a parent like myself and my husband, we don't want to wake up and the twins and our children have lost an entire year of learning. I don't think any parent wants that to happen. But the thing is if you don't have your finger on the pulse, don't, if you're not intentional about how you're monitoring your child's learning, you could wake up and that could possibly happen. And the price of that is very costly. And so you want to definitely make sure that you grab this book and implement some of the strategies. So then chapter three. So then I go on to chapter three, and chapter three is I love this chapter because it talks about balance. And I think this is important. One, because I'm a working mom, and sometimes I do not balance my life like I should. And so in this chapter, I talk about a personal experience that happened to me when I was an assistant principal of how I should have been more careful, but I wasn't. And it was costly, and it could have been very costly. But I think this is a great chapter because it allows parents to read about all of the different ways that you can bring balance to your life. Bring balance as it relates to doing distance learning, having your child working at home all day, and trying to bring balance to the family structure, the family life, just bringing balance to making sure that your house is somewhere where students are not just learning, but they are love that they love being there, and they love family. Like it's time for us. I think the one thing about the pandemic, it made families closer, and so you had unique ways that you had to bond. And so I think it's very important that families have balance. And that is chapter 3. And I think you will really find that you enjoy chapter 3 because it will give you some great strategy. For talks about making the decision. That's the name of the chapter. Make the decision. And in chapter 4, I look at I explore all the different learning models, whether it be a hybrid model of distance learning, whether it be a face-to-face model, whether it be you're at home. And so I explore all of the different types of models of distance learning, and I give you the advantages and disadvantages. And I talk about helping parents make the decision on what's best for their child. And so I lay everything out, and then as the parent, you are able to make the decision or even petition for a certain program for your school or your school district. And so this is what chapter 4 encompasses. And so I think it's a great chapter for parents. It gives you some inside information on all of the programs that school systems are implementing for distance learning. And it gives you my educational expertise on the programs. And so I think it's a great chapter for parents, and I think it's something that will be beneficial because it also helps you understand. One thing that I am for certain about, distance learning will always be in education, public or private. It may not be to the magnitude that we have it now, but it will always be some component because educational systems will never be caught off guard again. And not just that, there are so many things that are positive about distance learning. The technology integration, the technology implementation that teachers are using with their students, the communication that parents are receiving. Um, and so I also talk to parents about in chapter 4 when we as a nation transition back to face learning, what should that look like and what should they do for their children if they decide that they want to transition back to face learning. And so I think this is an important chapter because it is about making the decision whether you are choosing distance learning or moving back to face learning. And it's helping you with the decisions that you need to make to ensure that your child has success regardless of what you choose. Again, that's the overarching theme. We want our children to be successful during this pandemic. And so the overarching theme is always going to be minimizing learning loss and making sure that no matter what they do, they are successful. Finally, chapter 5 deals with following the plan. Now, this is the navigation part of the book. This is the part of the book where I actually roll out what you should do for distance learning and face to face. It gives you step by step. You should do this, you should do this. And it just helps parents. Sometimes some things you may know, like you may know, oh, I need to have a certain area in my home set up for my child. But you may not know Well, I need to make sure that I have the phone number of the tech person next to my child. So, in the event that something happens to the technology system that my child is using, I can that my child can call that number and get assistance on how to correct the problem. And so, that's what I offer in writing this book. Like, some things may not be new for parents, but what it will do is it will offer a different perspective on how parents should incorporate or implement what they're doing. And I will say that because distance learning is new for a lot of parents, most of the things in the book will be new for parents. And it will be something that you may want to take your book and highlight and make notes and jot down things to say or ask your child's teacher just to ensure that your child is participating in an amazing distance learning program. And then one of the things that I also want to um, just talk about is at the end of the book, I conclude the book with a parent to parent section. And I conclude the book with a parent to parent section because I just want parents to know, like, I get it. Like, there is no perfect parenting skill that a parent has. Uh, Being a parent for 19 years, there are many things that I look back on and I wish I could have done better. But what I will say for parents today, and what I will say about distance learning is um, distance learning is something that you want to get correct. It's not something that you want to mess up on because the cost of you messing up is too great. Like if your child is a year behind, whether they're a first grader or a senior, um, that's not good, and it's going to cost you to catch them back up. And so I think, like, at the end of the day, when I do the parent to parent, I just kind of talk to parents about like real things. Like, I'm a parent and I get it. And I know that you're not going to be perfect with distance learning, but you do have to, it's a parent call to do something because we don't want to wake up and have a society of students, of children who lack luster because they participated in a distance learning program that was not a great program, not when we could do something about it. And so I just say to parents, I offer this navigation system because I think about it with this analogy. If I'm going somewhere and I don't know where I'm going, I would rather have some type of navigation system than nothing at all. And I think that is the thing about distance learning. Sometimes distance learning can feel like you don't have a clue about what you're doing. And so, what I offer you is a navigation system. Or now I offer you a navigation system to say, this is something that you can use to help you get to where you want to be. And I think as parents, our ultimate journey would be success for our children. And so, on your ultimate journey of success, I encourage you to go out and purchase Education Uninterrupted. You can purchase it on Amazon, and it comes in paperback, and it also comes um, in a digital copy. And it will also soon be on the Learning Essentials INC website. And so you will be able to also purchase it on www.learningessentialsinc.com. And so, as I close today, I just say thank you guys for your time. Thank you for taking the time out to allow me to reveal the new book that is hitting the nation. And I am going full speed ahead with a marketing campaign. And I just ask you to tell any parent that you know, tell your friends, tell your family, and help. And let's make distance learning something that's doable for everyone in every family in America. And I think I have something special to help with that. So let's get this special product out. Thank you, family, and you guys have an absolutely amazing evening. And can I thank my mom at the end? Thank you, mommy. You are wonderful. My inspiration. Y'all have a wonderful evening.